Like I said, Tony's gone. Guess what that means? We don't fucking need this no more. That's what that means. Yeah, there was a lot of bad stuff happened. There was a lot of bad stuff happened, y'all. And I'm not over my sickness. I'm still sick. I was diagnosed with bronchitis. Yes, I'm still smoking fucking cigarettes. But welcome to the Davis Files. The whole new chapter in my life starts now. What y'all didn't see off camera, or what y'all didn't see on camera, rather, and the things that happened off camera, was that Tony was a big mooch. Now, before I go on here and y'all think I'm bashing Tony, just know before he left, before I dropped him off where he wanted to go, I asked him, I said, what about the YouTube channel? What about blogging with Michael and Tony? You know what he told me? He told me, tell him the truth. That's what he told me. Tell him the truth. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell y'all the truth. I'm going to tell y'all the God's honest truth. Now, Tony's been living with me for the last two, I think like 2.25 years. Or maybe even just 2 years. About 2 years. Well, honestly, I'm not sure. It's at least a year he's been staying with me. I can't remember. I'd have to go back and look at the dates. But Tony's been staying with me regardless of what I'm trying to get for a very long time. I'm going to tell you how it started out. Tony was living in these income-based apartments where him and his mother once stayed. Well, his mother died, and they left the apartment all by himself. Well, a couple things was happening, or was going to happen, eventually was going to happen. Didn't know which way things were going to go. He was either going to be moved down to a smaller size apartment, or he could have kept his apartment and his rent would have increased. So I told him, hey man, why don't you move in with me? You know, I was like, look, after you pay your rent, your lights, your water, your internet bill, I said all that is way beyond what I'm going to charge you if you live with me. I said, but I have a few simple rules. Just a few. And they were easy. The first one was, if you make you something to eat or you dirty something up, clean up after yourself. The other one was he must keep his own bedroom and bathroom cleaned at all times. In my house, I'm a germaphobe. And I don't like bugs. That's one thing I cannot stand: roaches or bugs or shit like that. And that's always been my fear, that if a place is nasty, you will get roaches, you will get bugs, you will get that was the only that I can think of right now offhand. I've actually got the signed contract somewhere, and I can find it. I know I've got it some damn where. Not really a contract, just him agreeing to those rules. But so when he first moved in, I expected him to follow those couple rules. Now, I wasn't on his ass because I figured, okay, he's a grown ass man. He can, those rules are simple. Those are easy freaking rules, man. I'm like, this is about to go great. I'm about to have my best friend living with me. We're gonna have nothing but fun times. It's just gonna be great. Well, at the time, he was driving that, I can't even remember what year, but it was a Chevy Tahoe. God, it had so many freaking problems. So he took that Chevy Tahoe and he traded it in. Well, actually, no, I'm sorry. He did not trade it in. He parked the vehicle back on his father's land, and he went to a buy here, pay here place that I recommended. Now, when you go to a buy here, pay here place, you either have a lot of money down that you can get a decent car, or you have very little money down and you're gonna get the bullshit car, the car is gonna have issues. Well, now he had, I believe, $1,800, and I don't remember how he got that much money. I know it was some church members had helped him out, and I think his father gave him $1,000, something like that. Anyways, well, everything that this place that I recommended, that was a buy here, pay here, and with $1,800. Now, $1,800 is not a low amount of money. I mean, to me, $1,800 is a lot of money. But $1,800 wasn't enough for a decent car at this particular lot. And I kept telling him, hey man, we can go find somewhere else. There's plenty of buy here, pay here places in Sanford. Not even just in Sanford, but man, we are here in Sanford. We are close to two major cities. And if I cough a lot, it's because I feel like I have a hair or something tickling my throat. I probably shouldn't be doing this video just yet because I'm not 100%, better. But anyways, he was insistent. He insisted. He's like, no, man. He's like, I like this car. This is gonna be a good car. So it was a Mazda. I can't remember. It was a Mazda. Anyways, I can't remember what it was. It was a Mazda SUV that he wound up getting. And when he test drove it, it had a check engine light on it. And I said, man, this is not the vehicle you want to get. This thing's already got a check engine light. And then it was having a lot of suspension clunks. Well, he didn't listen to me. I gave him my personal opinion. I was like, look, man, this is probably like, sway bar links or control arms that are making that clunk noise. And I said, this check engine light, I said, you don't even have a scanner to pull the code with you, and you just want to just be like, okay, yes, it's whatever. He didn't care. He wanted that car. So he gets the car, and we bring it home or whatever, and he started having issues with it. And he's trying to figure out what the clunky noise is. He doesn't have any money at this point because he spent all his money on buying it, or putting as a down payment on the car. He's trying to. I mean, this goes on for months. I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with it, and I worked on it, and I believe it come down to a bad computer at this point, because after it was talking about replacing the what's that damn thing called? The VCT or the. Anyways, it has to do with the oil control, pressure point, all this other shit. And I replaced that shit, and me and him did hours and hours and hours of research online, using AI, talking to different mechanics, there's all kinds of different things. And we replaced everything we could replace to fix that issue for the check engine light. It just would not stay off. And then the clunky noise, I straight up told him, I said, man, it's probably control arms that are making that noise. He's like, no, it just needs an alignment, this and that and the other. Well, he takes it to a place where he tries to perform an alignment on it, and they put it up on the rack and try to perform the alignment, and they tell him you can't do it. The alignment won't take because the control arms need to be replaced. So at this point, he's done, with this vehicle. And, he gets tired of the vehicle, and he takes it back to the buy here, pay here place. You guys ever want to go look? That video's still there. All the videos between me and Tony are going to stay on the page. So you guys can always go look at that. It was the white Mazda SUV. At that point, he goes back to his dad screaming, "Oh, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I need a vehicle for work. And I can't do this. I can't do that. All the vehicles ever get break down." See, the problem Tony had is he had vehicles, but he didn't have the money, to fix things. He didn't even have money for regular, everyday maintenance. So, anyways, so he's got that car, and he gave it back. He goes to his dad screaming and crying, and being desperate, don't know what to do. And at this point, I somewhat feel guilty because I did recommend this buy here, pay here place because I've bought cars in the past from here, but they've been good cars. But I also knew what I was looking for too. You know what I mean? I don't take no shit. If I see a problem, I'm not buying the car. I'm just not. I don't care how much the salesman tries to, tell me everything's okay and all this other shit. So his dad says, "Okay, well, I've got a Mercury, Grand Marquis that's been sitting out here in the woods for six years. If you can get it started, you can drive it." Now, mind you, this is remember how you guys know about Tony having his father arrested for forgery? Well, the reason because of all that is because all these vehicles that every time that Tony had an issue with the vehicle and it just got to the point where Tony's like, "I'm done putting money into it. I need another vehicle." He'd come back to his dad. And his dad's had a bunch of cars. But they were all in Tony's name because Tony's father was an illegal alien. Or also an illegal immigrant. So, but they both had the same name, same exact name, Juan Antonio Grimaldo. So Tony goes, "Okay." But Tony goes, "Oh, I don't have any money to get it started. I don't have any money to get it worked on or, none of that stuff." So me and my fiance, we use our fucking credit. Me and Tony figure out how much it would cost to get it back on the road. This was tags on it. This was insurance. This was fixing it all up, getting it going. We took a loan out for $1,500. Actually, it was more than that. It was, I believe it was $2,000 because the way that particular loan company works is, say you apply for $2,000, they'll actually give you like $1,700 or some shit like that. It's like they take a fee on top of the money. It's something like that. I don't really remember. But anyways, so we take a $2,000 loan out in mine and my fiance's name. We get that car going. I mean, man, you can believe how much work I put into that damn car. That shit was sputtering and wouldn't stay cranked. I mean, shit was bad, dude. Misfires like a son of a bitch. Guess who got it started and running? This dude. I can't tell you how many hours I put into working in all the vehicles he's had. Put in, fixing the vehicles he had. But whenever, what all the vehicles he's had, the reason he don't have no more is because something catastrophic would come up. Something catastrophic would happen, and he don't. I know how to fix. I know how to fix the issue, but he don't have the money to pay for the parts. So anyway, so we're going back. So we're back to this Mercury Grand Marquis. I mean, I got this thing perfect. Just about perfect. The only thing, I mean, it had almost 300,000 miles on it, and the seals, were probably bad on it, on the inside. So it ate a little bit of oil, and when you first started it up for the first, probably 5 minutes or so, it smoked a little bit and it was not even a heavy smoke either. It smoked just a little bit from it eating oil, because the seals it had 300,000 miles, and it was like a 2002 or 2003 Mercury Grand Marquis. So, I mean, it was over 20 years old, 23 years old, with almost 300,000 miles on it. But the damn thing was in good condition. I mean, it had plenty of fucking power. I mean, it drove like it was fresh off the fucking showroom floor after I got done with it. I mean, the thing was... But Tony was tired of the car. Tony got a letter in the mail one day. And... Well... And then that's how I got the Dodge Charger. He was tired of the car because there was nothing really wrong with the Grand Marquis. Nothing really, other than it kept having a check engine light for catalytic converters. And there was no point in changing the catalytic converters because, like I said, the car would smoke from the oil, whatever, the seals. And that's just, he didn't have the money to replace the seals and all that shit. So you'd have to replace the seals to make the engine stop eating oil and, burning oil. And then you replace the catalytic converters, because there'd be no point in replacing the catalytic converters. But that is literally the only check engine light that was on for that car, was catalytic converters. And I mean, but it was awesome. I mean, it ran smooth, no hesitation, no nothing. Well, Tony was tired of the car, and he got a letter in the mail one day from Capital One saying he was pre-approved for a car at Westgate Dodge in Raleigh. And that's when he went and got the Charger, and now you see he's got lifters, a lifter issue that's going to cost him over fucking $2,000. And he's got somebody working with them that's going to be helping him out with that. But anyways, let's get back to everything else. There is a lot to go through. You might want to buckle your seatbelts and hang on, because there's a lot. You remember in the very beginning when I told you my rules in my house is if you make a mess, clean up after yourself. Like if you go to the kitchen, you make a sandwich, you got some crumbs, just instead of leaving the crumbs there, all you gotta do is take your hand like this, get the crumbs in your hand, walk over probably 5-6 feet from the trash can, open the trash can, and put the crumbs in the trash can. But no, he wouldn't do stuff like that. He just leave a complete mess behind him, which left me and Kat to always be cleaning up his messes in the kitchen, and various other places. He'd sometimes leave his trash in the living room, like he'd eat and watch TV, leave his plate sometimes, or leave food out on his plate, just stuff like that. And of course, I wouldn't see it until the next day, and I'm like, man, what the fuck? Well, there's times that he'd be gone or whatever, and I would text him, hey man, you know, you got mail, can I go put your mail in your bedroom? And he'd be like, yeah, okay, that's fine, you know. I go in his room is absolutely disgusting. Stuff all over the fucking floor. I mean, it literally looked like somebody got mad one day. The specific day I'm talking about. It looked like he got mad one day and just threw everything on the fucking floor. Now, I know that's not the case. That's not what happened. He didn't get mad. It was just a bunch of clothes everywhere, and it's because he was too lazy to put his clothes up. He'd go wash his clothes, dry them, and then put the clean clothes back in the basket that was dirty. That he just had his dirty clothes in. But he was too lazy to hang his clothes up in the closet. He had plenty of hangers. Plenty of hangers. But he was just too lazy to hang up his clothes. So he would keep his dirty clothes mixed with his clean clothes, and he would wear his clothes several times, you know, several days in a row, and I don't know if he was wearing them several days in a row. He swore up and down he had multiple of the same clothes, but I don't know. I've never personally smelt any like body odor from him, like underarms or anything. But Kat has said she has smelled underarms. He has a really bad breath, so you know, as far as hygiene goes, like we're getting to like, you know, him wearing his clothes multiple days in a row and stuff like that. You would assume he's probably not showered. He's probably not taking care of himself. But like I said, I've never personally smelled any like body odor from him or anything other than his mouth. His mouth was just absolutely terrible. I mean, he'd go gargle. I mean, he wouldn't brush it. He'd admit that he wouldn't brush his teeth. He would tell me that. He's like, oh yeah, I've not brushed my teeth in several weeks, or you know, a few months or whatever. But he'd go in there and he would go rinse his mouth, like for these job interviews. Since he got fired, you guys know about that. He got fired from AutoZone because of sexual harassment, and I guess you could really say sexual assault too, because he tried to kiss the girl. Anyways, what was I saying? Oh yeah, he would, since he was trying to go for these job interviews and stuff, I'm like, look man, your breath just absolutely is kicking, dude. You want to go in there, you want to go brush your teeth, and then gargle with some Listerine. He'd be like, okay, well he'd go in there in the bathroom, and he wouldn't, you know, he wouldn't brush his teeth. Instead, he would just gargle with the Listerine and come back out like 10 seconds, 20 seconds later. I'm like, there ain't no fucking way. Now, I'll admit to you, sometimes, and I guarantee you a bunch of us could probably admit to this too if we're just being honest. Sometimes we might go a day or two without showering, especially if we've not done anything. You know, like, it's a weekend. You ain't doing nothing. You ain't going nowhere. You ain't talking to nobody. You ain't seeing nobody. You ain't even barely moving in the house. You just kind of staying in the house, you know? I can understand that. But not brushing your teeth, and his tongue was coated in this white, yeasty substance. Now, again, this video is not degrading Tony. This is not at all what this video is about. I asked Tony, what does he want me to do about the channel? He literally told me to tell the truth. So all of this, everything I'm telling you guys, is everything that's happened that has pushed me to the point where me and both has pretty much said, "Hey, man, I don't think it's a good idea you stay here anymore. I don't think you should be nowhere near here. You know what I'm saying? Or I don't think you should be anywhere near here. I think we should go separate ways. We can't stand each other anymore at this point." Now, that's that. So everything that has been said so far has been 100% true and has been what he said to do. To tell the truth about why all this happened, why he is no longer part of what is now called the Davis Files, by the way, and is no longer called Blogging with Michael and Tony, because you see, Tony is no longer here, and he's not going to come back. But, so as you see so far, he's not clean. Oh, we ain't done yet about his cleanliness yet. You see, he doesn't have all that great hygiene. He doesn't adhere to advice very well either. That's a big one. And then that's fine. People ask for your advice, and that's their choice to take it or not. But he asked for my advice. He'd ask for my advice and tell me my advice, and then he'd go do the totally opposite thing. And then whenever that failed, what he wanted to do, he'd come back and ask me for advice again. It was just an ongoing thing, and it's about a lot of different things. And it would aggravate me so bad. It'd do more than aggravate me. It'd piss me off, honestly. Anyways, he would all the cars I worked on, all that stuff. You know, he'd be like, "Oh," he wouldn't even. Sometimes he wouldn't even tell me thank you. You know what I'm saying? He wouldn't tell me thank you for the cars. You know, he wouldn't even say, "Hey, man, you know, you worked really hard on that car. Here's $20. You know, I know you've been working on this car for the last 2 hours. You know, I can't pay you what I normally pay a mechanic or whatever, you know, but here's $20. Never ever said that. Never ever done that. Never even said nothing like, "Oh man, you know, I can't even give you $20, man. But here's like a $10 meal at, you know, Burger King or something." Nothing. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying he had to give me anything, really, but even a simple thank you at the time would have went a long ways. And he's going around, you know, once his different cars and stuff are fixed, he's going around showing everybody, "Yeah, this is what was wrong with it. This was wrong with it." And I'd have to, "Hey now, but who fixed it?" You know, because he wouldn't give the credit. Because he tried to say, "Oh yeah, I fixed it. I know how to do that." And I'm like, "Tony, don't sit there and lie to these people. You don't know how to do this shit." Now, something I'll say he was really good at, well, he was decent at, was changing oil. He was pretty damn good at changing oil. I'll give him that. But that ain't very hard. But let's go back to him being unclean. I did not know how nasty this dude was. When he left, he didn't want to lie. He just, you know, he wanted his clothes, his important documents, and some photos. And that's because he couldn't find a vehicle, you know, a truck. Nobody have a truck to, you know, come get his stuff, his bed and all that stuff. So me and him packed what we could pack up, and in the back of my car and in my trunk, and I took him and dropped him off where he wanted to go. But after that, me and Cat's going through his room, we're throwing away stuff because he said he gave it all to me, and I've got a recording. And if anybody wants that recording, you let me know. And cause we ain't gonna say that I just stole Tony's shit, because that ain't what happened. I've got a voice recording where Tony admits that he's got everything else, everything he wanted, and the rest of it he was giving to me. Anyways, me and Cat's going through all this stuff. We're trying to sit there and decide what we want to get rid of, burn, because we like fires. We got, big old fire pit and shit. And we're going through what we might be able to sell, because he has stuck us with $230 a month payments for the loans that he's taken out, for the cell phone we had to take out and put in our name for him, because he dropped his phone in the toilet. He dropped his phone in the toilet, and he needed another phone, and there was no way else he was gonna get a phone. So in my name only, I went and put him on my cell phone plan. Bought him a brand new iPhone 17. And still in my account that I got to make payments on now because he dipped. And then the loan for we're still paying on the loan for, we got that that $2,000 for $2,000 to fix the Mercury Grand Marquise that me and Cat has to now pay. It was in our name. And but yeah, anyways, as we were going through all that stuff, in his bed, it looked like black pepper. And my immediate thought is, oh my God, that's fucking roach shit. That is roach shit. I don't have roaches in my house. Why is there black pepper in the bed looking like speckles? But then I get to looking, there's also like Dorito crumbs everywhere in his bed. I mean, it's everywhere, and it's like it's so much of it. Like you can distinctly tell what it was. And Cat goes, "Oh, that's not rat or roach poop. That is Oreos. He had Oreos a few days ago, and I saw him take the Oreos back to his room, but I never seen him bring them back out." See, Tony was bad about taking food to his room, which is fine. I told him, you can take food to your room, whatever, but clean up, keep clean. I don't want bugs in my house, But then he would take his trash, and he was too lazy to walk it from his bedroom back to the kitchen and the trash can in the kitchen, throw away his trash. Instead, and I've gotten on to him several times, like, dude. Anyways, instead he would put his trash for like his Oreos and chips and drinks and all this other stuff in this trash can in his bathroom. There's literally right beside his bedroom. And I've asked him the question, like, I wanted to get down to the nitty gritty of why he does that stuff. And I asked him, I said, "Why do you do this?" He goes, "Because I'm lazy and I just don't want to throw the stuff in the trash. I just throw it in my bathroom trash." That was a common thing he would say, like towards the end of before he moved out. That was something that would happen, that has been mentioned by him several times, that he's lazy and he doesn't want to do this, or he's lazy, he doesn't want to do that. He literally admitted to me that he's lazy and doesn't want to find a job. And I told him, I said, I get it. You know, finding a job sucks. Going to work sucks. Nobody wants to go to work. But we kind of got to live in this world, you know. It's either that or live underneath a bridge. Well, but yeah, so there's crumbs all in his bed, everywhere. There's dirt piled constantly on the floor in his bedroom and his bathroom. And I told him, I said, look, man, you ain't got to sweep and mop every day in your bedroom and bathroom, but do it like once a week or something. You know what I'm saying? And if it gets super dirty before that week, just tidy up a little bit, you know? He wouldn't do it. There was, he would leave nasty ass food in my refrigerator that would go bad, and we'd tell him, hey man, we think that stuff's starting to go bad. Like it would be like raw beef that would be like in a package, an unopened package, or it would be fish, or you know, or tortilla wraps, or you know, different things that he just looked there and set in our fridge, and it was starting to go bad to the point like it was starting to grow mold on it, or the package would become puffy. And we all know, we all passed 8th grade science, right? Microorganisms and stuff, when something, a packaging starts to expand, that is a good indication of what? Microorganisms, bacteria growing and making stuff nasty, you know? We would tell them, hey man, you need to get rid of this stuff. It's starting to go bad, you know, you just gotta get rid of it. Okay. He would either, he started doing this thing where he would start cooking the food that went bad. And I'd be asleep in the bed or something, and I'm like, what the fuck is that smell? Like it would wake me up out of my sleep. And I'm going, dude, that shit's bad. That shit's nasty smelling. What the hell are you cooking? And he'd tell me, I'm like, dude, that shit's bad. You can't eat that. He'd eat it, and guess what? He'd be in the bathroom several hours later, shitting like a motherfucker. And not just regular old shits either. I'm talking about shits that stunk the whole fucking house up. I'm talking about shit that, you know, you could tell, man. Like he'd be like, oh man, he would always say, oh, I'm lactose. No, man, you didn't have no dairy. You have no fucking dairy. That shit, your poop is liquid, and you're feeling queasy in your stomach and all that because you ate bad food. And then after that, he stopped doing that because we started getting on to him more about that. But at this point, he just would not throw stuff away after that. He just let it set and set and set. Until we literally say, hey, you need to go in there right now. Like, we get into arguments with him like, hey, man, this shit's nasty. It's making all, like, I'm a big germaphobe. I feel like them germs are sitting there spreading over to my food I got in the fridge. You know what I'm saying? My shit that's in the fridge, too. No, man, you need to fucking go clean that shit out. Look how swollen that package is. It's about to bust. he would take, talking about food too, he'd take like chips and stuff sometimes. Because like we'd get on to him, like he's all the time changing the way he does things. And it's because he's trying to like, he's trying to please us, but it ain't for him. He's just doing it just so we shut up kind of thing, you know. All I just want him to do is be clean in my house. And he can't be clean in my house. So he'll take chips and stuff and like, you know, he'd like, say he's not done with his bag. He'll, you know, get the chips and he'll, in the bag, and he'll, you know, turn it over. Instead of putting a chip holder on it or whatever, like a bag holder, like close the bag, he just leave it there. Or sometimes he wouldn't even close it all together. He just leave the bag completely open. He wouldn't wrap it down, nothing. Just stick it back in the closet or the cabinet. And one day we were cleaning out stuff, you know, tidying up, because like when it was time for us to get groceries or whatever, you know, we'd put our stuff up or whatever, and we just noticed, hey, Tony's stuff's looking a little, you know, unorganized. So we'd go in the cabinet, and we just organize the stuff, you know, just make it look nice. And we found mouse poop. Mouse poop. With some of his stuff, like, had holes in it from a mouse eating it. And you could tell that's one of the things he would never just, that he wouldn't wrap up or, you know, seal tightly or whatever. He would do things like, during this whole Dodge Charger thing, you know, it's all messed up, you know. He'd get upset with us when we went to sign, we tried co-sign him several times for him. Me and my fiance did. They gave him vehicles, you know, scooters, mopeds, you know, you name it. And the problem wasn't our credit; it was his credit, because he had a repo on his credit, and on top of that, he had where he just recently had got the, you know, technically the loan for the Dodge Charger, and they just, nobody would give him a loan, and they would say he literally would make this like, this was like a couple of years ago, like when we first, you know, whenever he was like first had the Chevy Tahoe. We took him to the Ford dealership, and my fiance, she co-signed for him, and they come back to him and says, Mr. Juan Grimaudo, we would actually like to take you completely off of the application and only keep, you know, Miss Catherine Fish on the loan application. Your credit, sir, is not all that good. As a matter of fact, it's hurting this deal completely. And there's no way we can make a deal with you being on the loan application. And he literally got mad and stormed out. And he would tell you that he was offended by what happened. Like, I mean, he had this like baby, like he was babied all of his life, you know, by his mother. He just, you know, he had nothing about him screamed, I'm a grown man, I can take care of myself. I'm mature enough to take care of myself. I'm mature enough for a woman. I'm mature enough to grow my life till I can have kids, whatever. None of his life screamed that. Nothing about him screamed that. He's 28 years old, 29, I don't know, fucking 28, 29. He was born, let's see. He was born August 16th, 1997. So y'all figure that out. I believe he's 28, 29. And he just would not. He just nothing screams, I'm a man. I can take care of myself. I ain't gotta have nobody to hold my hand. I can do this on my own. Nothing he done. Nothing. Now I know this doesn't say anything about the characteristics of a man. I mean, it does, but not really. But I'm gonna give an example. We were, God, I don't remember what we were doing, and I had asked him to change the bit out in the drill, the battery operated, DeWalt drill, and he didn't know how to do it. So I don't know what the hell he was holding, but he won't hold. You put it in revert. Like if you got a bit already in there, you hold the chuck, and then you go in reverse, and it loosens it. Well, he didn't know how to do that. So I took it out, and it's like, okay, here, put that one in. And I figured, okay, he watched me do it. He could be able to do it himself. He couldn't put the new, he couldn't do it. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, a lot of it was he grew up in a house where nobody ever showed him how to do anything. Nobody ever showed him how to cook. Nobody ever showed him really how to clean. Nobody, showed him how to be responsible. And when he moved into my house, I guess it was a very rude awakening for him. Because, we expected him to be able to do this stuff on his own. I don't know how, I don't know how, it was like a year probably. He had been staying by himself for about a year probably after his mother died. And he had a couple of roommates staying with him, helping him pay bills, but that was off and on. So, I don't really know how he did it by himself before I offered him to move in with me. I don't know how he took care of his shit, but I do know he owed a lot of money to a lot of different companies like Spectrum. He owes money to Spectrum. He owed for his cell phone and for, for the internet. He owes money to the apartments. Oh, there's another thing. He owes money to the apartments where he come from because he did damage to the property. And he also damaged my property. Remember how I told you he's not very, very clean person? Well, I told him, I said, look, man, I said, you're going to have to get you sometime or another, you're going to have to get you some bathroom cleaner, something that removes soap scum or something eventually. Clean your tub out and stuff. I said, if you don't, you'll fall. Everybody, we all know how soap scum gets on the tub, and when you're taking a shower, you make it slippery a little bit. Well, he never did that. So over time, this is about 6 or 7 months of him living here. He never would clean his shower, his bathroom like that. He never really would like get in there and like really get down and like scrub it or nothing like that. He just do like basic wipe off, like where his sink was at, and that's it. Just enough for me to think it looked okay. Me describing all this stuff, it makes me feel like, maybe he had some kind of mental health issues that I didn't know about, like But I don't know if it's that, like he was just, I hate to say the word, let me just say this, learning disability. There you go. Let's just say it was a learning disability. I don't know if it was a learning disability or if, because he lived with his mother his whole life and he always been babied his whole life. And he was a mommy's boy. If that's the reason all this transpired, I have no idea. But anyways, before that, that 6 or 7 months, it was getting slippery and he was all the time complaining. And I always say, hey, you need to go get you some bathroom cleaner for your tub that removes soap scum. But during that 6 or 7 month period, he had a shower curtain, and I had no freaking idea. But he was putting the shower curtain outside of the shower when he would shower. Water getting all over the freaking floor. And he'd soak the fucking floor. And I'd go into the bathroom. Hey man, what the hell's all this water doing on the floor? You can't do that. You're gonna rot the floor out. Well, the floor started getting a little weak. And I noticed it. He noticed it. And nothing was official yet. We didn't know how bad it was. But one day, he fell in the shower. Why? Because of the soap scum. When he fell, he busted his head. I mean, he didn't bust his head, but he hit his head on the toilet. I don't remember if he said it was his knee or his elbow, but that literally went through the floor outside the tub. And, so he put a hole in the floor. And then he had busted something on the toilet. And I'm not going to say what. And I had to replace that in the toilet myself. That's just in case my landlord watches this fucking video. I guess it don't really matter because, sorry y'all, I'm standing up because, I gotta adjust my nuts. But, I don't know how the hell he did it, but he broke the toilet flange. And then I had to replace that. Oh, with my own money. And as far as the hole in the floor, he went and got black tape and taped over the hole. And I told him, no, you can't do that. You're going to have to pay somebody in carpentry to come out and fix this floor that you rotted out. Oh, yeah, I'll get it done. Never has paid for it. There's still a fucking hole in the floor with tape over it right now in his bathroom. And I can't remember if it was a week or two before he fell, or if it was a week or two after he fell in the shower. He wound up putting a hole in the wall in the hallway. He claims, now this don't make no fucking sense, because it looks like a fucking punch hole. It looks like, it looks like a fist. He claims that he was sweeping and mopping, and he put his hand up on the wall and he fell through the wall. I ain't never heard no shit like that. It's drywall now. Now, it is drywall. I mean, drywall's weak, but damn, I don't think it's that fucking weak. So guess what? Guess who mudded it? And I hadn't sanded it yet, but I fixed the hole. And it looks nice. Only thing I gotta do is sand it. But I mean, it's pretty much fixed. Where he put it looked like 2 holes in the wall. But yeah, I mudded it and fixed the hole right. I did it the right way. You know, there's just a lot of stuff, and I could go on and on and on and on and on and on about the stuff that he's done. You know, he does not follow instructions. He does not. He will not. And when I say instructions, is he won't follow what he's like as far as cleaning the house, like as far as like his part. He would never do it. Like it's a chore, dude. You're supposed to do this shit by yourself. Just like I told him, oh, about his bed and stuff, his covers and sheets. He didn't want to put a sheet on his blanket. Oh my God. And if anybody ever wants this fucking photo, I swear to God, I still got it, and anybody can have it. When he first moved into my house, his bedding was so fucking nasty. I took all the bedding off. It was sheet. I mean, it was it was like sheets, and then it was like I forget technically what it's called, but it's like some kind of like zipped up cover or whatever. Took that off the mattress and a couple other things, and we washed it. And in my wash machine, the water was like brown. It was like a light gravy brown, but like a darkish, lightish, like KFC, like light gravy brown. That's how nasty the fucking water was. I swear to God, I got the photo, and if anybody fucking wants that, just let me know. And we can figure out a way and you can get that photo, whatever. But that shit was nasty. That was like, no. And the whole time he lived here, that was my thing. I told him, I said, I need you at least once a month. Depending on how nasty your sheets and blankets get, but at least once a month, I need you to wash your sheets, your blankets, your pillowcases, your pillows. He wouldn't do it. And it was just so fucking much. Like, it was just, and then we'd get into arguments about different things that were similar, that were petty. We would get into arguments about, and he was so disrespectful. And it'd make me so fucking mad. I'd want to get up and smack the shit out of him, but I wouldn't. And I guess we got onto him so fucking much. I'm gonna tell you what happened. This is the straw that broke the camel's back. So you guys know he has been without a job for about a month now at this point. And he has literally told me, he didn't want to work, he had gotten lazy. That came out of his own mouth. And if you guys don't believe me, Kat will tell you yourself, I wish I had the video on that. I wish I would have thought to save it from my security cameras, because I have cameras inside of my house, outside of my house. I have cameras all inside of my house. I've got cameras all outside of my house, all the way around the house. But I wish I would have saved that clip of him saying that. But when he literally said, like I said, he has not had a job in about a month, and he's told me, he didn't want to find a job, he got lazy. And he also said that same thing about, cleaning the house, in his part or whatever. And I told him while he was out of a job, he was going to clean the whole entire house. Now, I will give him this, and if he would clean the house when I tell him to. Since he's been out of a job, that was mine in his agreement. Hey, if you can't pay me rent, you at least gonna clean the fucking house. You at least gonna sweep and mop the house. You know what I'm saying? And wipe the counters down and tables down and stuff like that. You can at least do that. Now, also, he was really good at, me and him started doing this thing where cans, and we drink a lot of canned drinks in my house. We'd finish the cans, we'll put them on a table somewhere, and ultimately they'd go probably, if they weren't sitting on my little side table I got, they'd be sitting on the table in the kitchen. And every day, he was really good at going. He started getting to that point where every day he was doing a really good job at getting the cans by himself without me asking him to. And we have a crusher. We got a can crusher out here, and he crushed them and put them. We got a big old 55-gallon trash can. And I told him, I said, once the trash can got full, we'd take them to Larry and Metal, get money out of them, and I'd split the money with them, because they were all pretty much my cans. But since he did the work of getting the cans up, going outside and crushing them, and putting them in the trash can, I split the money with him. And there was a lot of different things where I've given him money, I split money with him. We'd sell things, and we'd sell things, and I'd give him half. We'd half the money and shit like that. So it was all the time us making fair, deals with, him getting half, But anyways, Tony had, like I said, let's go back. Like I said, like I said, you guys know he was out of job for about a month. He told me he was lazy and he didn't want to get a job. Well, I had been on him constantly, several freaking times. Hey man, you can't just put in an application and then expect them to call you. No, you got to show initiative. You got to call them. You got to make an effort. You got to show them that you really want the job. He was just very irresponsible with that shit too, because he had a resume, but he would never update his resume. I'd get on to him, hey man, you should really update your resume. On your resume, make sure you have the correct address, phone number, your correct work history, just stuff like that. He didn't care, and he was putting in applications in with a resume that wasn't even true. True to fact, anyways. Like, the information on it wasn't correct. Missing information, or information was incorrect, or whatever. But, and he was wondering why people weren't calling him. When Tony worked at AutoZone, he was what was called a part sales manager. Which in the real world, if you go anywhere else, that would be considered like a shift manager, or a assistant manager. Well, all these places he's been applying to has just been for manager, like store manager, because he wants more money. He's being greedy. He wants more money, and there ain't nothing wrong with wanting more money. But you don't have that experience of being an actual store manager. You know what I'm saying? There's more. There's stuff that an actual store manager does than a assistant manager or shift leader or whatever. And at AutoZone, all that basically he was a his title was a part sales manager, and all it is just a fancy way of saying shift leader or uh, assistant manager type ordeal. Anyways, but he was not finding any jobs. He was, no place would hire him. No matter how, they'd email him telling him he wasn't a great candidate. And I didn't know why until I found out that he was put in for these manager positions, not assistant manager or shift leader or, stuff like that. Stuff that he was actually, good for, not an actual store manager or whatever. With me and him getting an argument, I was like, no wonder, dude, the people's not fucking calling you, You're putting in for this, it's not even the right thing. I mean, we just kept going on and on and on. I mean, it's just always shit like that. Well, I told him, I said, look, dude, all the loans we've taken out for you and, the money that we've given you and you need to pay back to us and all this other shit, it equals out to be $230 every month. That is what what you owe us. What I'm gonna tell you what I was charging them. I was charging them $600 for rent, $82 for the loan he was paying us, and then it was then just recently it started becoming $50 for his phone bill because I put him on my plan. With the iPhone 17 or whatever, unlimited talk, text, and data with Spectrum Mobile. And then after 1 year, it was going to go up an additional $30. It was just some kind of promotional thing. So, anyways, and then since he lived here, my landlord went up on the rent $100. So $100 plus 82 for the loan, and then $50 for the cell phone. That come out to be $232. We told them don't worry about the $2, just give us $230, and that is the bare minimum. And whenever you finally get a job, I won't ask for back pay or nothing like that for the month, the time that you've been out of work, whatever. I'll be fair. I'll let you have, what you need to have, as far as, to get yourself back on your feet, and you ain't got to pay me back pay, nothing. You ain't got to do none of that stuff. I just need the $230 every month. That is the bare minimum, because we can't afford it. I mean, technically we can afford it, but it's just going to make things a little harder on us now. He's like, okay. He's like, and I made him a deal. I finally made him a deal. Look, if you can give me that $230 a month, I don't care what you do. How I'm gonna be hands off from now on. Like I'm not gonna be in your business. I ain't gonna give you because that's what he asked. It's like, man, just stay out of my business. Okay, fine. He wanted me to back up some. Fine. I'll back up. I'll let you do what you want to do. And I ain't gonna help because he said he don't want my help no more. He said he didn't want my help anymore. He didn't want my opinion anymore. He didn't want my advice. He didn't want none of that stuff. Which, by the way, is funny because even when he says that stuff, he'd still come to me with his problems and be like, I don't know what to do. And I'd say, well, that sucks, man. And he'd be like waiting for me to, give him an answer. Hey, what do I do? Anyways, Well, he's sitting there freaking out. And after I done told him, I said, man, look, if I need to float for like the next couple of months at 230, if I need to float that money, I need to, pay for it myself, at 230 every month, I can do that, no problem. But I'm not gonna kick you out of the house, man. I'm gonna let you stay here as long as you need, don't worry about being kicked out of the house. It ain't gonna happen. I'm not gonna kick you out, no shit like that. But he keeps bringing up, what you gonna, even after I've told him that, 2 or 3 days will go by, he'll be like, what you gonna, man, the end of the month's coming up, or, whatever, what you gonna do, whatever, I can't pay the 230. And I said, I done told you, dude, I'm not gonna fucking kick you out, man. I done told you that shit. But I figured out what he was trying to make it out like, I was gonna kick him out or whatever. And he wanted to leave. That was his way, because he was tired of all the arguing, all, the verbal argument that we was having, and, all the stuff that went down, all the, me trying to teach him things that he felt uncomfortable here. He felt uncomfortable here because he wasn't used to this life. He wasn't used to the life of having to be an adult, to do things on his own. He makes bad decisions. It's like once he moved in here, the world hit him in the ass. The world said, "Hello, Juan. Hello, Tony. Hi, my name's the world. It's time for me to start kicking your ass." That's basically what the world said to him. And I told him, I said, dude, the world's gonna eat you alive. And he didn't believe me. So you know where he's at right now? He's at a friend's apartment, living on their couch, no job. Somehow he got a cell phone. I have no idea how the fuck he got a cell phone. And I believe it was an iPhone. I don't have his phone number anymore. Remember that cell phone? The cell phone that I said I bought him? Yeah. Well, that's mine now. And that's in my possession. I was not about to let him walk away with that phone when he still owes over $900 on the fucking phone. Nope, not happening. You ain't gonna stick me with that shit. I ain't gonna sit there and pay. I ain't gonna pay for something, and you get to keep the benefits of it. No, sir, not happening. He's just so inconsiderate of others. He's just very, very inconsiderate of others. Like, I'm gonna give an example. I have told y'all a million fucking times how much my car is my baby. I'd let him fucking drive the shit, and he'd fucking do shit like pull out of parking lots, hit big ass fucking drop off curves and shit, because he ain't paying attention where he's going. I've got a bent rim, and I'm pretty sure it's because of him at this point. And then I've got to pay $100 and some fucking dollars to get it fixed because it's aluminum. It's an aluminum wheel. And the longer I wait, the more it's fucking eating at the tread and the waves of my tires. And I've got fucking $1,500 worth of tires on that sumbitch right now. The Michelin Defender 2s. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I've got. I don't know. It just. He was just so inconsiderate of others. He didn't care about nothing. He doesn't care about anything. He just tries to go through his life, you know, like, la 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 la, you know, like everything's okay, everything happy go lucky, and he wants to laugh about everything and make jokes, even whenever things are serious, and he wants to mock people, and he wants to, you know, he just wants to think the world is this perfect place. But then whenever it comes to smack him in the ass and say hello, he don't know what to do. And whenever I offer my advice, instead of doing my advice, like he'll do the opposite of my advice, and then later on, eventually do what the advice, apply that advice to what I gave him, or apply that advice, and it works. And I'm like, I wonder why it works, because I figured this out. I already thought about it, Tony. Like, we never did ask him, for anything impossible. And I always would tell him, look, man, I'm not asking you anything that I couldn't do myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was all the time getting in trouble at work for. He was wanting to move up to store manager position, but his store manager and his district manager would not allow that to happen because he could never come into work on time, never, when he worked at AutoZone. Always arriving late. He did not care. Now I will say, once he finally got to work, he was decent, pretty good at figuring this stuff out at AutoZone. But I don't know. I can't. This is why me and Tony didn't work out, and this is why he's gone. And this is why you are now talking or listening and watching the Davis Files. And when it came to YouTube, let me tell you about fucking YouTube. When it come to fucking YouTube, guess who created all the ideas for YouTube? Guess who did all the editing? Guess who did all the shooting the videos? Guess who set up the camera constantly? Guess who was paid extra money for different stuff, like microphones? Like, I've got microphones in the house I just fucking got for us, because so you guys could hear us a little better. Guess who's paying for when the gas and the trips and stuff, like when we went to the abandoned motel, or I can't remember, motel, hotel, whatever, and we explored that. Guess who paid for all that? Guess who paid for all the videos you guys saw him eating or whatever? Guess who paid for that? Every time we'd go out to eat, I could probably count on my hands almost out of the almost 2 years he stayed here. For 2 years, he's almost 2 years. I can count on two hands how many times he's actually taken us out to eat. You know how many times me and Kat is taking them out to eat? Huh, I've lost count. And he was so disrespectful to Kat too. He would say little smart ass little comments and shit to her. And I was trying so bad, like so hard, not to flip shit on him. And I didn't. I didn't flip shit on him. I'd call him out for it, but that would be it. You know what I mean? Hey, that ain't cool, man. You can't be saying shit like that. And it wasn't sexual, but it was like, I don't know. He would just be very disrespectful to her. And I can't think of anything off the top of my mind. I'm sure if she was here, she'd tell you everything that he's probably ever said, because she's like that type of person. She remembers every small detail, shit like that. And she even sees shit that I never did see. You know, the reason Tony stays so long here and I put up with so long of his shit is because I see the good in people, and I forgive people so easily. I either see the good in people and I forgive them way too easy, or I see the good in people to the point where I don't even see when they actually do bad. And that's unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. For me. And I need to change that. But it's just... But I see the good in everybody. Until I don't. Until it all explodes. And then... You know, I get to think about everything. I've had several days. I've got bronchitis, and I'm mostly over it at this point. I've just got a lot of congestion in my head and my nose, and just a little bit of, you know, stuff like that. And that's probably also why my voice sounds a little weird. It probably sounds like while I'm talking through my nose. But I've had several days, I know at least probably 3 days, 4 days to think about what I was going to say, how I was going to go about it. And I could not figure out how in the world I was going to tell y'all about all this. And I'm actually kind of impressed on how all this, you know, how I was able to actually unfold all this and tell you guys. Because I had no idea where I was going to go, how I was going to start it, you know. Tony, like, Tony also had, and I hate to even say this, but Tony had a sexual perversion to him that I think a lot of us probably would not agree to. Tony liked underage girls. See, I'm gonna tell you how I met Tony. And this has to do with the underage girl thing. How I met Tony is because in my there's a neighboring city to Sanford, and it's called Carthage. I was dating this woman named Stephanie Flores. Sorry, I've dated a lot of Stephanies, or more than one. Less than a handful, but more than one. Stephanie, so I don't remember like the last name. So I was dating Stephanie Flores, and she had 2 girls. One was 12, and going on the age of 13, I believe, or something like that. Or, no, let's see. No, she was 13, that's what it was. Going on age 14. And then sorry. I'm not trying to say names out, children's names. But the youngest was, I think, like 8 or 9 years old. And the oldest, that was 13 years old. Well, so they live. Okay, let me back up. So Stephanie lived in income-based apartments in Carthage called Green Tree. And Tony also lived in the same apartment complex as Stephanie and her kids. And they were friends. Whenever I started coming around and started dating Stephanie or whatever, Tony was friends with Stephanie and the girls. Well, Stephanie's daughter, the oldest, had an iPhone, and Stephanie didn't know how to operate it. And then this was several years ago. This was like more than, let's see, we're probably going on 7 years now at this point, 7.5 years. Anyways, so Stephanie asked me to go through her oldest daughter's cell phone and to look for anything that might have been concerning. And it doesn't necessarily have to do anything sexual, just anything. Maybe her and her friends talking about anything bad, or, whatever. So I went through the conversation between her and Tony. And Tony lived several apartments down from Stephanie and the girls. But I went through the conversation between her and the oldest daughter, which was 13, and Tony. And they were calling each other baby and I love you and kiss and excuse me. And talking about they were dating and how they were gonna get married and it never did get 100% sexual, but if I wouldn't have stopped it in its place at that point in time, and I found out what I found, Tony would have probably went a little further than what he did. Now, it never got sexual. It started to hint towards sexual, but it never got there. Now, me and Stephanie's relationship didn't last very long. But God, that was honestly probably the shortest relationship I ever had with Stephanie Flores. But that short relationship I had with Stephanie Flores, it lasted, I think, maybe 4 months, 5 months. Anyways, I got, after me and Tony reconnected like a year or two later, he tells me that after I left, Stephanie had him talking to some kind of detective because Stephanie went on Stephanie went on her oldest daughter's phone and apparently saw some more alarming stuff. And instead of having Tony charged, they just had the detective talk to Tony, scared Tony straight kind of thing. Well, that's what he told me when we first moved into my house. Now, even though I don't agree with it, but I understand it. Tony has never had sex but one time in his whole entire life with one person. And that was just like a year before he moved in with me. I can understand being lonely, and I can understand that sometimes, maybe that might make you do some desperate things, and you one thing leads to another, and you're in a mess. I can understand that. And I'm not saying I agree, because I 100% do not. But Tony should have, if he was that lonely, he should have been not talking like that to her. Now, when Tony lived with us, now I ignored it. I understood it, and that's why I ignored it. Now, I've been through Tony's phone, and since he's lived with me, and I've never seen anything that, that wasn't supposed to be there. But he has made comments about younger women. And I'd be there, like, us being guys, whatever, we'd be at Walmart or, just walking around, and he'd be like, damn, look at that ass, or something. Like, Tony, she's like fucking 14, 15 years old. What the hell's wrong with you? And then, he wouldn't say anything. He'd be embarrassed. Cause he'd be hanging out with us guys and shit, and, he'd be saying shit like that, and then like, what? Us guys were out there saying, damn, look at the ass on that girl, damn, that girl's got some big old titties, you know what I'm saying, or, whatever. And, I only say the same thing, but I don't know if it's because he don't recognize the face. Like, you don't look at the face first before he makes comments, or he looks, or whatever. And he just thinking with his dick, but I don't know. Tony tries to play this godly, Christian. I am a Christian. I am this. I am that. Praise God. Now there ain't nothing wrong with that, but his actions speak louder than his words. You guys want to know why the truth of why he's not here? That is why he's not here. Because everything I've just said, plus more. There's more shit. But see, we'd be here for hours if I kept on. And Tony knew what he was doing. To remind you, I literally asked Tony, what do you want me to tell everybody? And he told me the truth. So that's what I'm doing. Now, as it sits right now, you may ask, do I hate Tony? No, I do not hate Tony. Matter of fact, sometimes I feel, last few days he's not been here, I feel a little bad that I was a little hard on him. And that's, I was hard on him because he needed to get his shit right, but I should have gave him a little break because, maybe he didn't know what he was doing. Maybe he didn't know what he was doing. It's a bad fucking choice to have bronchitis and over here smoking. I feel like shit. I probably look like shit. And if I look like shit, I'm sorry. I'm sweaty. And I don't know if that's because I got a fever still or what, but I have finished my course of antibiotics. I finished my course of prednisone. And I've been sick for about, I don't know, fucking a week. About anywhere between 7 to 10 days I've been sick now, so. I'm slowly but surely getting better. At first, man, I was terrible. Couldn't breathe. My blood O2 levels were anywhere between 90 to 87, and they fluctuated. I just couldn't breathe. It was bad. I had to call the ambulance. And, because I couldn't breathe. And they were sitting there giving me oxygen on top of albuterol treatments in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. Lights going, sirens, all that stuff. But, you guys deserve to know the truth, and that is the truth. And I told Tony, I said, some of this you're probably not going to like once you see the video, because I am going to tell the truth, and that's been mine and Tony's thing this whole time since we had the channel Blogging with Michael and Tony. It come out. At first, it was MT Podcast, then it was then it turned into MT Podcast to Blogging with Michael and Tony. Now it's the Davis Files. But yeah, Tony has stuck us with loan payments, and now I got to pay an extra $100 a month rent. I already told my landlord he moved out, but when have you guys ever known a landlord to go down in rent instead of up? Landlord ain't gonna go down in rent, so I got to pay an extra $100 now. And then on top of that, the loan payment, and on top of that, his cell phone bill. And then I got a fucking iPhone 17 I have no idea what the hell to do with. Depending on, I tell you what, anybody that wants an iPhone, 17, depending on how local you are, if you're willing to purchase the phone from me, it's a iPhone 17 with 256 gigabyte. I don't remember what color, but it comes with an OtterBox case, and it comes with the liquid glass screen protector. We can work out numbers or whatever on it, and you can pay for the phone. You can have it if you pay for the phone. All you got to do is email me at mtpodcast25@gmail.com. That is mtpodcast25@gmail.com, and we can work out some numbers if you want the phone. But you got to pay for it. That helped me out a lot, But the phone's only about a month old, so. Anyways, there's a lot more I could probably say, because there's a lot of shit he's done. And again, I'm not saying that it was all him, because it was some of me too, but it was mostly him, And when I say it was some of me, it it was some of me because the way I reacted to what he did, some of the things that, But, anyways, I'm done with this video. I gave y'all an explanation why he's not here. If I lose followers or subscribers, that's fine. Because that just tells me one thing, that y'all were here for Tony, not me. And this can finally be my channel, and I can have my audience. But for the ones that stick here, I appreciate you, and I continue to love you, and I will continue to pump out as much content as I can. So if you'll just stay with me and stay with, I know we've gone through a journey. I know we've changed, names a couple times. But I think this is the last time we're going to change the name. And I think it'll forever be the Davis Files. So with that being said, my name is Michael. And welcome to the Davis Files. Peace.